We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Iran to abandon more nuclear deal commitment on July 7. Palestinians protest U.S. peace plan. NATO prepares defensive response to Russia arms treaty breach. Kushner calls the Mideast plan opportunity of the century. President Trump tweets Iran's response is ignorant and insulting. U.S. says it's laughable to consider Maduro to preside over free elections. Plus, powerlifting competition pushes the bar at the 2019 Warrior Games. Hello everyone, I'm Anna Kui, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, broadcasting from Las Vegas. France's Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian said Iran would be making a serious mistake if it violates a 2015 nuclear deal.
Une violation iranienne serait une grave erreur et une mauvaise réponse à la pression exercée par les États-Unis. Alors, la diplomatie française, allemande et britannique est entièrement mobilisée pour faire comprendre à l'Iran que ce ne serait pas son intérêt.
Quoting a note from a top security official, FAR News Agency reported on Tuesday, Iran will resolutely abandon more commitments under a 2015 nuclear deal with world powers on July 7. Tehran had announced on May 8 that it was suspending two of its 2015 pledges and gave Europe, China, and Russia a 2-month ultimatum to help Iran circumvent U.S. sanctions and sell its oil, or it would abandon 2 more commitments. Last year, Washington withdrew from the landmark nuclear deal and reimposed sanctions on Tehran, and Europe's efforts so far to help Iran economically benefit from the accord have been dismissed by Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei as a, quote, bitter joke. Rear Admiral Ali Shamkhani, Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, was quoted as saying by Fars, as of July 7, Iran will forcefully take the second step of reducing its commitments to the nuclear deal. He said this was so countries who interpreted Iran's patience with weakness and inaction realized that Iran's answer to the American drone's violation of its airspace will be no different than its reaction to devious political efforts to limit Iranian people's absolute rights. Amid escalating tensions last week, Iran shut down a U.S. spy drone it said had crossed into its territory, a claim denied by the United States. Russia, a key ally of Iran, on Tuesday backed Iran's version of events. U.S. President Donald Trump said he ordered retaliatory airstrikes against Iran, but pulled back at the last minute. Shamkhani slammed Europe's political insolence for expecting Iran to continue its commitments without them fulfilling their end of the deal, and said it showed a lack of will to face the U.S. France's Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian said Iran would be making a serious mistake if it violates the deal through abandoning commitments. In a joint statement on Monday, Britain, France, and Germany said they were committed to working hard for the full implementation of the nuclear deal and urged all sides to do the same. Shamkhani, in response, said the E3 statement and Trump's game of sanctions were two sides of the same coin and that Europe has so far paid no cost for saving the deal. In retaliation to the European inaction, Iran has begun to increase its enriched uranium and heavy water stockpile and is set to soon pass the limits set in the deal. The second step would involve breaking past the 3.67% restriction on enriching uranium and restarting development of a heavy water reactor that was put on hold. Thousands of Palestinians demonstrated Tuesday throughout the occupied West Bank and the Gaza Strip against the launch of the U.S. administration's Middle East peace plan. Around 3,000 people protested in Nablus in the northern West Bank, with dozens attending demonstrations in Ramallah and Hebron. The U.S. is set to roll out economic proposals at a conference in Bahrain later Tuesday, aimed at paving the way towards a peace process between the Israelis and the Palestinians. But the Palestinians are boycotting the event, accusing President Donald Trump's administration of pro-Israel bias. Rallying calls from the Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, and other groups raised fears of widespread clashes, but they did not materialize. A general strike was called for in the Hamas-run Gaza Strip, and most shops and restaurants in the enclave were closed. Demonstrators at a small female-led protest in northern Gaza burned pictures of Trump. While the Bahrain conference is set to cover the economic aspects of Trump's long-delayed plan, its more contentious political proposals are likely to be delayed until after the Israeli elections in September. Led by Trump's son-in-law and advisor Jared Kushner, the Peace to Prosperity framework dangles the prospects of $50 billion of investment in the Palestinian territories and neighboring Arab countries over 10 years. The Palestinians again rejected the proposals Tuesday, accusing the U.S. and Israel of trying to bully them and quash their desire for independence. Saeb Erekat, Secretary General of the PLO, said in a statement, quote, "Such inciting campaigns aimed at making the people and leadership of Palestine accept the dictations, threats, and tyranny of both the U.S. and Israel, and they are doomed to fail. Our position is clear. We will not compromise on the necessity of a permanent, comprehensive, and lasting political solution."
هذه المسيرة تأتي للاحتجاج على صفقة القرن التي تريد أن تدمر فرص السلام وتريد أن تدمر حق الشعب الفلسطيني في التحرر من الاحتلال وتحقيق الحرية والاستقلال. هذه المسيرة أيضا للإعلان في نفس يوم ورشة المنامة أننا لا نقبل بخداع اقتصادي لتضليلنا حتى نتخلى عن حقوق الشعب الفلسطيني الوطنية. صفقة القرن ليست مشروع للسلام بل مشروع.
NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg says the alliance will decide this week how to respond to Russia's violation of a key Cold War arms treaty, insisting any measures would be defensive.
Starting tomorrow, and then he'll be here to take your questions.
Russia has until the 2nd of August to verifiably destroy its SSC-8 missiles, which violate the treaty. We call on Russia to take the responsible path. But unfortunately, we have seen no indication that Russia intends to do so. In fact, it continues to develop and field the new missiles. And there are just 5 weeks left for Russia to save the treaty. Tomorrow we will decide on NATO's next steps in the event Russia does not comply. Our response will be defensive, measured and coordinated. We will not mirror what Russia does. We do not intend to deploy new land-based nuclear missiles in Europe.
Coming up, Kushner calls the Mideast plan opportunity of the century. President Trump tweets Iran's response is ignorant and insulting. U.S. says it is laughable to consider Maduro to preside over free elections. Eagle News will return in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News. White House advisor Jared Kushner said Tuesday that his plan for the Middle East was the opportunity of the century for the Palestinians, but that their acceptance was a precondition to peace.
Some people have mockingly called this effort the deal of the century, but at its core, it is not just about making a deal. In fact, this effort is better referred to as the opportunity of the century.
U.S. President Donald Trump goes on Twitter to slam the, quote, ignorant and insulting response from Iran to his offer of talks, extended as the United States slapped new sanctions on the country's already crippled economy. President Donald Trump on Tuesday warned Iran that an attack on U.S. interests would trigger an overwhelming response and could bring obliteration. Amid rising tensions between Washington and Tehran, Trump tweeted, "Any attack by Iran on anything American will be met with great and overwhelming force. In some areas, overwhelming will mean obliteration." Trump said in the series of tweets, Iran's leaders only understand strength and power, and the USA is by far the most powerful military force in the world. The United States and Iran have been locked in an escalating war of words since last week's downing of a U.S. surveillance drone. Iran says it was in its airspace, which Washington vehemently denies. Trump pulled back from plans to retaliate with military strikes on Iranian targets, saying the response and the collateral damage would not be proportionate. But on Monday, he slapped a fresh round of tough sanctions on Iran, including on its supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and top military chiefs. Tehran said the window for diplomacy was shut. Iran also said it would abandon more commitments made under a 2015 nuclear deal signed with world powers. The United States withdrew from that deal last year. Trump called their new statements very ignorant and insulting. The U.S. Special Representative for Venezuela, Elliot Abrams, said that to consider allowing Nicolas Maduro to preside over free elections is laughable.
The notion that Maduro might remain president to preside over free elections and a transition to democracy is laughable. These attacks on the only remaining democratic institution in Venezuela are yet another proof that the Maduro regime cannot be trusted to organize free and fair elections. Yesterday, a Russian military aircraft arrived in Caracas, which the Russians say was carrying additional technicians to service previously sold arms systems. What we do know for sure is that it carried no humanitarian aid.
Abrams says he hopes that the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, will call for free elections to solve the Venezuelan crisis.
We hope the report will call, as so many democracies around the world have, for free elections as a central part of the solution to Venezuela's crisis.
When we come back, a powerlifting competition pushes the bar at the 2019 Warrior Games. Eagle News will return shortly. This is Eagle News. I'm Anna Cui. The 2019 Department of Defense Warrior Games, a Paralympic-style competition among wounded, ill, and injured service members and veterans, brought to Tampa, Florida, approximately 300 competitors, participating in 13 sports: archery, cycling, track and field, shooting, sitting volleyball, swimming, wheelchair basketball, rowing, powerlifting, wheelchair tennis, wheelchair rugby, and for the first time in Warrior Games history, golf. Today, sports correspondent Jay Rosquitas shares with us how the powerlifting category pushed the bar this year. Take a look.
Lift, eat, sleep, repeat. This is the mantra that most powerlifters live by. At the halfway point of the Warrior Games, competition continues to thrive during the powerlifting event. Athletes from all the armed forces, including the international countries, got their shot to push the bar. Literally. The competition was divided by 4 weight categories per gender, in which their primary objective was to bench press the maximum weight that they can with good form. A special designed bench press was created for the athletes so that it gives equal competition between athletes who may have lower limbs or not. we spoke to powerlifting athletes who shared with us their experience in the Warrior Games.
Going into the competition for powerlifting, I'm the team's ultimate champion female contender. So powerlifting was one of 8 sports I had to dedicate time to for many weeks. So for me, my performance met and exceeded my expectations just because of the experience, the environment, having my Air Force family here. It's been amazing.
It didn't matter about the placement and who got what. It was about who had each other's backs. And it didn't matter what branch we were in. That's what I love about it. And that's what the Warrior Games are about. We're all injured. We all have our injuries. We all have our stories. And we're here to share it with each other, build that support system, increase that support group to help us in the long run, not just for today.
And as the finalists took the podium and were recognized for their achievements, we asked what they took away the most from the competition.
I would say powerlifting in general, you got to have a lot of discipline, just like any other sport. You got to put in time in the gym. You have to eat right. You have to take your supplements. And you put in the time, you put in the effort, it'll pay off, man, in the end.
You push yourself past your limits, and when you experience that for yourself, you want to go more. You want to go more, and you want to become a better person overall. And it's that motivation, it's contagious. It's contagious.
I've went from being a recluse, not very healthy, staying in my house, stuck in bed, unable to move in pain, and adaptive sports has genuinely gave me a new purpose in my life and gave me a new being to be.
As the Warrior Games powerlifting competition comes to a close, these warriors continue to display grit and determination, traits that are truly inspiring. Signing off from Tampa, Florida, I'm Jay Rasquitas, always 1 with 25.
Thanks, Jay. For more stories about this year's Warrior Games, tune in to EBC Sports International's next episode. That is today's Eagle News. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on facebook.com/eaglenews and on twitter.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I'm Anna Kui, and I'm 1 with 25.